Welcome back to the 99, where we're focused on brewing a better competitive commander. I'm your host, Patrick Marlette, and this is Cold Brew, where I take you from start to finish on a brand new list, live, only here on the 99. So I'm so glad you're subscribed, and you've liked, and you've shared. But today is a very special Cold Brew, because we're going to be taking a look at Koll, the Forgemaster. Someone gave me that one, and I forget who you were. It was on the Discord, but thank you. Cold Brew, very punny. For Boros, red, white, legendary creature, dwarf, warrior, 2/2 body. We're going to read over the less relevant text first. Creature tokens you control that are enchanted or equipped get +1/+1. Okay. That's the casual end of the card, the uncommon end of the card. But the top end, that mythic rare end, it's not a mythic rare, but this ability is, whenever another non-token creature you control dies, if it was enchanted or equipped, return it to its owner's hand. Eat that, Livio! That ability is really good and has a lot of combo potential. Now, Koll was one of the earlier spoiled cards during preview season for Koll time, and the full set should be spoiled today if I'm not mistaken. So expect a set review this coming Sunday. However, Koll, I've tried so hard to refrain from doing any further work on this list. Of course, like the previous Cold Brews, I've laid out the bone structure for the deck, the basic strategy moving forward, and of course, we can remove a playliner strategy and add new ones as we go along, as we discover cards together here on Cold Brew, and that's the whole concept for this particular video. Now, I'm just going to check in to make sure that you are all here. You know the deal. I have to look at my phone. I'm too cheap to afford another monitor, but nice, good. Glad we're all here. And let me know, thank you. Let me know if the audio or the video gets choppy at any point. Of course, I'll try to address that as we go along here. But the Cold Brew segments last about 2 hours. Again, from start to finish, we're going to build this list. And of course, at the very end, we're going to do some playtesting with this deck. Now, not necessarily the playtest feature like you saw this previous Tuesday with Mons of cEDH TV. No, the playtest we'll be doing is right here on Tapped Out. Now, unlike previous Cold Brews, what I want to do is leave a link to the list for you all to participate in your own playtest. You know, try hands of 7, obviously play through turns with the deck once we've completed the deck so that you can get a feel for the list we've created together as well. And also in the note of playtest, it was meant to be done on Spell Table with a virtual camera through my computer, you know, with my players, with paper cards, whatever they want to do as well. Unfortunately, I use a Macintosh, and while Mac is lovely, there's a lot of faults with the computers and the software that would not let me do it on Spell Table. So it came out on Cockatrice. I think it looked fine. I'm going to try to refine that, but I've got a lot of guests that prefer to work on Spell Table. So I'm going to try to accommodate them and see if we can't get that hashed out by the time I work with those individuals. Now, I want you all to know that Koll will be playtested against none other than Cam and Dylan of Play to Win. So if you are interested in watching that, we'll stay tuned for next Tuesday for our playtest featuring Koll, the Forgemaster. Now, let's make this one good so I can wipe the floor with these people. Also, before we jump any further into this Cold Brew, I want you all to know that if you enjoy the content here, the best way to help support it, in particular on these live streams, is the Super Chat. It's a feature in the live chat and or via Patreon. And what's cool with Patreon, with February coming up, for our Patreon crew, I left a poll, and I'll do the same thing in the Discord eventually, of list, rather, I left a poll with list suggested by you that you could suggest to me to build for the month of February. So February, for everyone else, is just a regular day, a regular month in the year. However, on the 99, it's going to be February, and I'll be doing a list every single week. So if you want to participate in the poll over there in discussing what we could brew next every week for February, go do that. Also, there is a link in the description down below to TCG Player, or there should be. If there's not, I'll fix that. But basically, if you buy cards through that link, a small portion of those proceeds will go to help the channel. So thank you. If you decide to pick up Koll after this, you make those pre-orders on those singles, you don't need to buy the whole set. The set hasn't been that great. But there's a couple of key cards that you should definitely pick up from the set that are decent. Koll being one of them. Now, without further ado, let's take a look at the bone work I've laid out for you concerning Koll the Forgemaster. There's a couple of ways you could storm off with Koll. This is basically a creature storm list utilizing auto-equip spells as well as equipment spells that have a 0 cost to equip. And I think we'll go over those first. So We have cards like Grafted War Gear. This is a real staple beater card. At 3 CMC, equipped creature gets +3/+2 whenever Grafted War Gear becomes unattached from permanent sacrifice that permanent, and there's a 0 equip cost. So what's great about this is that it requires nothing of us aside from the equip at sorcery speed to attach this and then obviously kill the creature that's attached to this, bounce it to our hand, and we'll talk about those creatures in just a second. We also have something like Lightning Greaves, and yes, this works with spells that say sacrifice on them, so long as you don't have to target the sacrifice creature. Lightning Greaves is 2 generic artifact equipment. Equipped creature has haste and shroud, equipped 0. Same story, we're equipping the thing. And, you know, we can look over the sack outlets I've added here. We're not going to use all of these sack outlets, and we're not going to use all of these equipment cards. I preface with that before we move on to Ronin War Club. So for 3 generic, you've never seen this one, you've never played it. Or maybe you have. Let me know in the live chat if you have. I'd be very curious. Equipped creature gets +2/+1. Equipment 5. However, whenever a creature comes into play under your control, attach Ronin War Club to that creature. What? Now what's cool about this is if we use something like Emergence Zone or some way to Vidalcan Orrery, probably not, but if we do something like that, we can throw these creatures down, have it equip at instant speed, and then sacrifice that creature and repeatedly do that, right? So these pieces of equipment are very good in those circumstances. I think this list is going to try to win at sorcery speed, so, you know, bear that in mind. Let me see. I'm just checking in with you all. Cam and Dylan are great. And I'm excited to test this list with them after the program today. I'm actually meeting up with them in advance to check it out. So, Ronin War Club, not my personal favorite. It's probably going to be one of the first equipment we cut. Next, we have Sai of the Shinobi. This is better. Sai of the Shinobi for 1 generic artifact equipment. Equipped creature gets +1/+1. Equip cost 2. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, you may attach Sai of the Shinobi to it. You know where we're going? To Shuko Town. For all Kamigawa artifacts. Love it. For 1 generic artifact equipment, equipped creature gets +1/+0. Who cares? Equip cost 0. And then we also have Storm Rider Rig. And this is borderline right? Sai of the Shinobi, obviously the best of the auto-equip. But same story, 2 generic, 2 to equip. Whenever a creature enters the battlefield under your control, bleh, you do the thing. One of the last pieces of equipment I want to talk about outside of Umbro Mantle, if you've seen my deck tech on Savala, you know what this one is. It's another 0 equipper. Again, likely one we'll cut. We'll see. I just added all the redundancies I found for the main strategy for us to discuss today. And of course, if we don't need all these redundancies, because there are relevant tutors in Boros, thankfully, white, Steel Shaper's Gift, it's actually a gift in this deck. We also have Skull Clamp. Now, this works well in tandem with a lot of the creatures we'll be utilizing. For 1 generic, equip cost of 1, artifact equipment, equipped creature gets +1, -1. This is classic. You equip a token that's a 1/1, or you equip a thing that's a 0/1, whatever the thing is. If it's got 1 defense, whenever it dies, draw 2 cards. Right? Perfect. It was attached at the time. It leaves the battlefield. You get 2 cards. So this automatically does the work of a sack outlet for us when we look at our creatures that we're using today. Crimson Kobolds, have you played with these guys? 0 CMC. This card is a red spell. Cool. 0/1 body. Crookshank Kobolds, 0 CMC. This card is also a red spell. Kobolds of Kir Keep. This card is also a red spell. Oh, the granddaddy of them all, Rograk, son of Raga. First Strike, Menace, Trample, who gives a shit? It's a 0/1 for 0. Now, why are all these important? Coupled with Memnite, Ornithopter, and Shield Sphere, if you couldn't tell, all these cards happen to be 0 CMC. They're important, particularly the Kobolds, because they're 0/1s, right? So they're very squishy, they're very easy to kill, they're very easy to manipulate. And we'll talk about some other playlines I'm thinking about that we can incorporate to the list utilizing cards like Underworld Breach, Cloudstone Curio as we go along to see if they function well with the list. Now, Koll isn't necessarily an outlet. So having infinite mana isn't something I really care about, but there are Cloudstone tricks I would like to manipulate. So the artifact-based 0 CMC creatures are lesser than our kobolds, and the ones I would suggest you shoot for last. Now, just like Teshar, and I'm going to play this similarly to Teshar, however quicker than Teshar, because Koll is 2 CMC, we're going to focus on redundancy. So I've just added as much as I could find so far as 0 CMC creatures are concerned, and auto equips are concerned, and 0 to equip are concerned, because we want to be able to blast this out instantaneously and wipe out the board, right? So the other cards I want to discuss here, and this, again, these are all fairly obvious, right? 0 CMC creature, use a sack outlet, kill the thing, could be Blasting Station. It can't be Altar of Dementia, right? It really can't be Altar of Dementia. I've added it for other reasons, but we'll probably take it out. I also want to discuss Pure Steel Paladin and Auriok Steel Shaper. Now, this is, and this also, you'll notice if we're looking at the overall list here, there's a Nahiri Storm of Stone, also flexible. Not sure we're using that, but it's important to note these equip cost reducers, because we'll look over some equipment together to see if there's not decent equipment with an equip cost of 1 that we can manipulate also as a 0 cost equipment, right? But Auriok Steel Shaper, as I was saying, equip costs you pay cost 1 less. That's really good with Skull Clamp. I mean, honestly, that's the king of the equipment pieces in this deck. If that equip cost was 0, well then all of our 0 ones just die instantaneously and we draw our deck, right? So someone like Auriok Steel Shaper, while it seems negligible in effect, is actually really good because it makes Storm Rider Rig, you know, if the creatures we have just happen to be on the battlefield, we haven't been able to do anything, we can equip Storm Rider Rig for 1, or we can equip Sai of the Shinobi for 0. No, 1. It's also 2. Got it. So we want the cost reducers. And also we're going to look over some Metalcraft today. I think the most relevant Metalcraft is likely Pure Steel Paladin, who also functions really well with the list because of the top effects. But if you don't know who this is, double white, Human Knight, 2/2. Whenever an equipment enters the battlefield under your control, you may draw a card. So we're not going to activate that all too often, but you can plan for it, you can play for it. It's not a bad idea. However, Metalcraft equipment you control have equip 0 as long as you control 3 or more artifacts. So you'll notice when we look over our land base that we are using the artifact lands. Not Darksteel Citadel, but the 2 color providing ones. Now, hope that ain't throwing too much at you. We're going to look at some sack outlets I've added. Things like Goblin Bombardment. Excellent. So Goblin Bombardment is 1 generic, 1 red enchantment, sacrifice a creature. Goblin Bombardment deals 1 damage to target creature or player. Very obvious. This just knocks out the board in much the same way that our Blasting Station will, right? So something like Blasting Station, 3 CMC, sacrifice a creature. Whenever a creature comes into play, you may untap Blasting Station. It's Teshar tech, right? Similar to Ashdod's Altar, except this is going to give us mana, which is going to allow us to funnel into other spells. And we can look into what spells we can manipulate this mana with. But essentially, if the Skull Clamp is down, this is going to give us the infinite generic we need to equip our creatures, 0/1s or whatever, and or equip creatures that are like Shield Sphere that are 0/6 and have them die to the altar while the Skull Clamp is equipped, right? So we can draw through our deck that way. Same thing with Phyrexian Altar. This gives you colored mana, and these can actually be very good for storming off as well, you know, provided we're not able to get there as quickly as we'd like. These are 3 CMC, mind you, so they're a little slow to put on the field. In Boros, we do have some rituals, and we do have a lot of fast mana we're going to have access to. So we're going to start probably there when we're adding cards. And the last thing I want to look at, first and last thing, is our land base. This was very easy. I'm going at this very aggressively. We want all of the mana positive rocks and all of the mana positive lands. All lands are mana positive, but the ones that provide us multiple manas. So Ancient Tomb, City of Traders, Crystal Vein, the sometimes free Gemstone Caverns, things like that. Like we're going to run all of them. City of Traders is sometimes a double-edged sword, but we can live with that. It's a triggered ability, by the way, the top end, if I'm not mistaken. So it's been changed. You can still interact with it and you can still tap it while it's the triggers on the stack. You'll get the double generic. But this is very good for laying down many of our, combo pieces, right? all of these little doodads over here. So we've got those out of the way. We have all of our fetches. Are we using a Sensei's Divining Top? No. Do we have any sort of deck manipulation? Not necessarily, but we still want to thin our list with the tutors, which is actually useful. And we do have access to a pretty interesting land in white that we may or may not use if we use Sunforger. And you might know which land I'm talking about. I didn't actually add it, but that's something that's tutorable with a fetch land. Basically, all of our fetch lands, we have the filter land here. That's about it. Pretty simple, right? All right, I'm going to catch up with your comments, see where we're at. Bone Cell would be good. Skull Clamp. Yeah, we got Skull Clamp. I was around with the Kamigawa block. Do you remember those Moth Riding Samurai? I do. What about Impulsive Pilferer or Skirk Prospector? Skirk Prospector, well, these are kobolds. I'm pretty sure those haven't been changed to Goblin, so they're not really going to be sacrificing anything, right? Because Skirk Prospector only sacrifices goblins. So obviously, Dockside Extortionist, you know, we could work with Dockside Extortionist and make infinite treasures, but that would be a side strategy to the whole thing. And Skirk Prospector by itself would just be a blood pet virtually, right? You'd play it for 1 red and you get to pop it later. So it's a little piggy bank, unless we have Dockside. But we're also in Boros, mind you. So we're a little limited on our tutors, and the things we're going to prioritize with those tutors are not Dockside Extortionists, because our combos require this, right? They require little to nothing to do. So I'm not really concerned about breaking Dockside in this list. It isn't one of those decks. Also, Dockside's been failing recently with some of these recent games. My opponent Docksides. Well, you actually saw in Brew Wars, if Justin ever went for a Dockside in that previous Brew Wars, he would have got jack shit. Sometimes Dockside isn't a viable strategy. I know that's a hot take for some. But we're probably going to add him in here anyways, because all that mana is really decent at one time. Impact Tremors, yeah, whatever. Impact Tremors sounds good. You can do Impact Tremors. We might too, right? So the thing to bear in mind with Impact Tremors is that yes, it does the damage, but you also need, it's another piece to the combo line that I don't necessarily want to add. You know, I would rather prioritize finding my blasting station so that it's already a 4-card combo, right? You need Koll, you need the 0 CMC creature, you need the equipment, you need the artifact that's sacrificing things, right? And or in the case of Skull Clamp, you just need the cost reducer. So if we add Impact Tremors, that's a 5th card. My hand is going off screen talking about all these cards. It's a lot to handle. So I'm not sure Impact Tremors is the way to go. It seems really slow, but we can do that. We can try it. Sunforger, yes. And then there's the planes that goes along with Sunforger that puts a card from your graveyard at the bottom of your library. I forget what it's called. But if we do go the Sunforger route, we can use that. And Sunforger would be good here. I believe it only hits instants that are 4 CMC and under, right? Something like that. You have to unattach it. Basically, it would be manipulated for our Enlightened Tutor, right? We just want to get to our solutions. Now, let's go ahead and open up our editor here. We're going to be adding cards as we go along. And the cards I want to look up first, just humor me. I don't think, I'm just going to outright say it, I do not believe that we are going to find any auras that are valuable for this commander. However, that doesn't mean, and I mean in the sense that they'll combo with Koll. However, we can still look into some aura utilities that might be nice for the list, right? Despite the fact that they likely won't combo with Koll. So I'm literally, because there aren't that many auras, we can kind of skim through these to see if any of them are valuable. There are a handful that come back from the grave if something or other happens, but they have a lot of hiccups with how they function, so they're likely not worth it. The ones I think would be useful are the ones that let us draw, right? And I'm probably going to stop as soon as we hit all the 2 CMC auras, because anything beyond that is not of interest to me. We want to go fast. You know, we're going to use every single ritual we have, every single fast mana at our disposal to go fast. Because I want to get this list under our opponents right? So that means as minimal setup as we can do to just get the ball rolling on a victory. So anything over 2 CMC to me is not going to be decent for this list. I'm not trying to play a long game with Koll, right? It's the difference between Koll and Teshar. Teshar can play very quickly if you're fortunate to have the right hand. Now, Boros has access to red rituals, and there's a ton of them now, Jessica's Will being the most recent one. There's a ton of ways to throw shit on the field. And since we have that capability, I'm going to go as quickly as possible. And again, he's only 2 CMC. So, unlike Teshar, who sometimes has to play slow, right? You have to have your stacks pieces. You have to have your removal. Koll is going to be greedy. And I'm not really seeing anything yet. Obviously, the auras we're looking at, this one's kind of cute. Obviously, this isn't great for us, but neither are 0/1 bodies on the field. But this is kind of a cool way to get your thing back to hand. Detainment spell. It's not meant for your creatures, right? But you can use this on your opponent's creature, and because you control detainment spell, you can move it around, right? So it's kind of cool, and it's only 1 white. I don't think we're going to use detainment spell, but again, it's a great way to save your thing. I believe Koll says other, right? So I don't think we can save Koll with this, but we can save one of our creatures with this. That's kind of cool. Again, not necessary tech in my opinion. Now there's a Epiphany Storm that's better than this that we used in Magda that I'm going to want to look for. Let's see here. Yes, that is Sunforger. Yeah, I got it right. Steel Shaper's Gift and Line Tutor. Yep. Open the Armory is not too expensive. Right? So 1 white and 1 generic. We're not going to be using things like Pearl Medallion or Ruby Medallion. None of that stuff. So we're going to look at that at its face value. And we're not going to make the most out of Open the Armory. And I'll just... Why don't we start? Why don't we start there? We can just get these tutors out of the way because there's really not that many. But in case you don't know what Open the Armory is, it was suggested in the chat. It's a really solid tutor alongside Steel Shaper's Gift. And Open the Armory was just reprinted in Commander Legends, so they're super cheap. They've always been cheap. You know, no one's really looking to prioritize their auras and equipment, but that's essentially what this is. It's sorcery speed. So search your library for an aura equipment, reveal it, put it into your hand. It's the demonic tutor for this list. So yeah, we're going to use it. Is demonic tutor too expensive? I think not. So long as it gets us the thing we need, it's totally worth it. And in my mind, so long as a tutor has at least 2 targets, it's valid. Here, we have a ton. So I like Open the Armory. And what's nice about Open the Armory, I can remove some of our redundancies if I do this. Like our club, right? Some of our equipment pieces that are a little overcosted, we can remove them. Because if I have Steel Shaper's Gift and Sai, that's still cheaper than, you know, going for one of those 3 CMC equipments that does the auto-equip, or, you know what I mean? Like the Grafted Warrior, I believe that's 3 CMC. It's a lot to drop, and we don't necessarily want to pay that cost. But if we can use Steel Shaper's Gift or Open the Armory for a cheaper one, perfect. But let's go ahead and just add Enlightened Tutor too. These are all very obvious inclusions. And if you follow the channel, you know it's a cEDH channel. So we always use our tutors. If there's a relevant tutor, run it. Bottom line. Unless that tutor's 3 CMC and impossible to cast. Like Grim Tutor, only if you're in mono black would I recommend Grim Tutor. Or if you don't want to proxy like an Imperial Seal. I can understand not wanting to buy an Imperial Seal. Let's hope for a reprint soon. We could genuinely use one. This is a cute one. Not worth it, right? For a 1 white, you can return this from your graveyard to the battlefield attached to a creature for 3 and a white. There's no way. See, because that's admitting that that is admitting that the game is going to go on for a while. If you happen to need Griffin Boon for whatever reason. But mind you, this is the other end of that coin I didn't get to, and it actually plays a part of the tutors I'm about to add now. So, non-token creature dies, bounces to your hand. Well, things like Recruiter of the Guard, right? This is searching creatures for us. If we had Koll down, and we had a way to sacrifice Recruiter of the Guard and, I don't know, our Lightning Greaves, we can equip the Recruiter of the Guard once it hits, find our Dockside Extortionist. let's just say we had the mana remaining for Dockside Extortionist. And this is an effective means of ramp, but also we can play Recruiter of the Guard again by sacrificing it to one of our sack outlets, and or just removing it with some damage spell. And honestly, that is a side strategy I'm considering. It's a little silly to do that, to ping our own things, but if it means we can get the ball rolling that much quicker, like if I just bolt Recruiter of the Guard to bring her back to my hand and get a Dockside for 7, that's a good deal, right? And then I can put her back down to grab the thing I actually need, which is probably a Kobold or, some form of combo creature. So we can recur these creatures by having them die with Koll. That's really cool. So relevant ETBers are going to be very important for this. And there's actually a lot of really cool creatures that we can recur this way too. I'm thinking specifically of the Skyclave Apparition. She'll be really great here, right? Because we can bounce her and play her again, provided we have a sack outlet. Phyrexian Altar would be great for her because she thinks she's double white. She's like generic and double white, but she's excellent removal even in Boros. However, she is a little high costed, so we might refrain. But we'll also use things like Ranger Captain of Eos. And what's great about Ranger Captain of Eos is he sacrifices himself. What? So I sacrifice the board, I silence you, you can't play non-creature spells, whatever the form of silence is. It's super relevant. And then you go through your list to find a 1 CMC creature or under. Oh, all of our 0-cost creatures. Great. Set up my combo. I'm silence the board, and I'm going to pop off now. Is that cool? Ranger Captain of Eos is amazing. So I'm going to stop there with the tutors. Stick with the auras. I'm getting so distracted. Let's see here. Hey, what's up? Not too much. I'm just building a deck. Building a deck with you all. You're suggesting Fiery Mantle is an interesting mana sink? Fiery Mantle. I think I passed it, right? Did I pass it? Is it... Fiery Mantle's more than 1? I'll be sure to take a gander when we do pass it. How about that? That's kind of cool. This is really cool. And again, in the same way I was stating that we could kill a creature to bring it back and do a thing, right? Recruiter of the Guard is a 1/1. She's weak. Recruiter of the Guard. If you don't know who Recruiter of the Guard is, yeah, she's a 1/1. So enters the battlefield, you may search your library for a creature with toughness 2 or less. This is excellent. That's our Auriok Steel Shaper. That's our Dockside Extortionist. That's going to be a majority of the list. Recruiter of the Guard finds it. We can also use Imperial Recruiter, right? Because we're in Boros, baby. It's so funny how Boros was a laughable color, but now red is a powerhouse as a support color. So at least one half of the equation here is really decent. That I'll let you decide which color I'm talking about, but red is pretty potent right now. So we're going to utilize Imperial Recruiter, and there's a bunch of cool red staples that have come out over the last few years, and Tybalt's Trickery from this set. Also, what I would consider a staple for list outside of blue. It's been testing extremely well for me. Let me know if you've used Tybalt's Trickery yet, because it's so good. I was popping off with this new list that I'm not going to say what it is because I'm playing it on the next Brew Wars and I want it to be a surprise. I was popping off on turn 2 with this list, and I used Tybalt's Trickery on an opposition agent that someone was dropping on me. And they rolled into like a Dark Confidant or something, and it was so irrelevant for the strategy because, well, I was winning the game. So Tybalt's Trickery is great. It also milled some decent shit too. Anyways, so yeah, Imperial Recruiter, Recruiter of the Guard, all those creatures would die to this. Oh, a 1 CMC return creature to my hand spell. It's almost like playing a bounce spell, right? 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 We can look at it that way. You do need to have Koll on the field, but you can look at it that way. And if we're using cards like... Oh my god, wait. It's one of my favorite cards. I'll look at it later. It's a white card. Bonus points if you can remember it, because I can't right now. It's a 1 CMC, 1 white card that lets you play auras and equipment cards as though they had flash. And if equipment enters the battlefield, I remember the name now, but I'll leave it to you to remember it as well. Equipment enters the battlefield, you can equip it to a thing. Yeah. Yaffle, you got it first. Congratulations. Sigarda's Aid. So essentially we can bounce our own thing to our hand, right? I'm going to Gilded Drake your, you know, the combo card. They see me going for it. They're like, huh, I can take it early. I'm like, nah, I'm going to immolate it. Your Gilded Drake fails. Sorry. Okay, just keep immolation in the back of our pocket for now. I don't think we're going to use immolation, but it's a cool idea. We really don't need to spend too much time on these because they're not going to be that great. Again, the combo cards are going to be the equipments by nature of what they allow us to do. Equipments stay on the battlefield when auras don't. But this one's good, right? This is a good way to get some utility out of all these wanky 0 CMC creatures we're dropping, because at least this way, you know, if I turn 1, drop a Kobolds of Care Keep and a Mountain, at least I can start rummaging with it, right? And if we decide to play with Underworld Breach, which we can talk about a little bit later, and I do think it's a good idea, we can tie in some excellent Storm combos with Underworld Breach. This is going to fuel our potential Breach later in this game, right? So, not a bad idea. Not a bad idea. So, Immolation and Prophetic Ravings, that's what's on my mind. And also the one that shifts creatures, we can move it to creatures. I actually really liked that one too. Again, it's just a very good way at instant speed to recover a thing. It also stops activated abilities. Maybe we should narrow this down to... We'll continue looking at the auras past 2 CMC, but maybe we should look at this down to ones that allow us to shift from creature to creature, but have better effects, right? Because activated abilities on creatures, you can stop a mana dork with that one. I gotta read the wording on that again. It might be useful. We might throw it in just for funsies and then remove it immediately. I love dual casting. Oh my god, I love dual casting. Well, if you followed my Wart primer, you know why I like dual casting, because it's a win con there. But it's just good by itself. I am a sucker for copying spells. Anytime I can copy a spell, I will. Gladly. I think in this instance, no, though. Oh, there you go again. Enchanted creature can destroy itself. We're not going to do that. Flash auras. Okay. A flash aura would be interesting. This is free. No. I'm not feeling any of these. Now, the ones that were interesting to me were the ones that allow you to self-sacrifice as well, right? So if we can do an aura that lets you self-sacrifice for an effect that's useful. Mind you, this one's not that great. Sacrifice a permanent. And the permanent would obviously be, well, if we... There are these types of auras that allow you to sacrifice other things, right? But the generic cost on this is a turnoff for me, because we can't do this infinitely, right, with our creatures and Koll's ability. So this is sort of like a one-shot. However, if there are auras, and we'll look at some equipment as well that say sacrifice on it, like the Immolating Mask, as well as the Mortar Pod. Those are outlets for the list, obviously, right? So those are good, because they don't have a cost attached to them. I haven't added those yet. If you're just jumping in now, we're about 30 minutes in. I didn't add any sort of outlets in addition to these sacrifice altars that do the deed for us. And if you remember, we added Altar of Dementia as well. When we're equipped, we do have power on our creatures. So it's actually a decent way to fuel our breach as well, right? And we can just put everything on our graveyard at that point, and then have breach be effectively, you know, unstoppable. And we can probably add like Aetherflux Reservoir or something like that as a outlet for the deck, provided we go for a breach line. Return another creature, return another target aura or equipment card from your graveyard to your hand. This is kind of a cool way to recover something, right? Exile Spectral Steel from your graveyard. Damn, we could just rummage this thing. We can rummage this thing and then return an aura equipment from our graveyard to our hand. That's really not bad. Call time. I don't really look over all the call time cards yet, despite the review coming out this weekend. I'll be sure to give you the highlights, though. That's not one of them, but it's decent. It's put into a graveyard from play, return it to your hand. Now, there's these, there are a handful of auras that just do this automatically. What's nice about these ones, and maybe that's what we should narrow our search to, right? So put graveyard, return hand. Put graveyard, return hand. We'll start there. If we're going to add any, they need to have grave hand. Graveyard hand. We could probably stop there, actually. But if we're going to use any auras, they have to have added utility for us. So the ones that return to our hand are going to be useful, seemingly useful. These are just okay. I don't want my lands to die for the purposes of comboing out. Do I? No. Halo, Brilliant Halo, despite the girl having wings, we don't get flying. There's the Fiery Mantle, right, as our mana sink, and it returns to your hand. Sluggishness, whenever it's put in a great... nah, not going to do that. Lifelink, not really important. Return Undying Riches in our hand. None of these are important. Was put in a great... Nope. Nope, none of these are important. And then let's just look back at that one card and see if we can't find text that is similar to it. I think we're done with the auras is what I'm saying. Unless you've got an aura up your sleeve that you think would be perfect for this deck, then let me know. But Detainment spell, attach target. Attach target. How about that? Oracle. Because to me, that's actually cool. That's actually good. Is Teshar in here? No. If you do, you could. If you do, you could run Godo as a backup strat. Yeah, you could. We won't. We won't. There's no backup, guys. Plan B only detracts from Plan A, and we haven't even gotten to Plan A. So we don't need a backup strategy, is what I'm saying. Attach Felidar Umbra to target creature you control. Okay, so this doesn't hit other things. Sacrifice another permanent. Attach bond. Wait. Bound by Moonsilver. Hold up. Can't attack blocker. Transform. That sounds useful. Moonsilver to target creature. Activate this ability only anytime you can cast a sorcery. Only once each turn. Oh, man. Okay. Well, it wasn't ever going to work out for us in a meaningful way anyways. But this is the coolest one, sadly, and it's not that great. You're really just shutting someone's dork down, right? Does it feel really good to shut off a Fine Horn Elf? Does it make you feel better? It's a little messed up, bruh. Bruh. However, we can attach it to our own creatures. Dang, I'm just so tempted. But we won't. Okay, so let's get some of the easy stuff out of the way, right? So we've already added, and I'll go ahead and save and continue editing. We've already added some tutors. We've added Ranger Captain of Eos that hits all of our 0C creature combo cards. We've added Imperial Recruiter as well as Recruiter of the Guard. This is going to hit more than that. As a matter of fact, we can actually hit our Treasonous Ogre if we want a Treasonous Ogre. That'll help us storm, wouldn't it? I'll add Treasonous Ogre for now. Most of what we're doing cost generic, right? The equipment, the creatures are 0. Koll's going to have to be 1 red and 1 white with attacks provided he dies. So Treasonous Ogre is going to be very good here. And again, it's not like playing Godo out where we need to blast our life total to less than half. We can actually do this, have a decent enough amount of life to be able to use our interaction in our hand, you know, our Ricochet Trap, our Red Elemental Blast, no white spell. We're going to be able to hold up our life total to be able to interact with our board as well. So Treasonous Ogre is good. I like that. But let's just add some rituals now, right? So Rite of Flame. And shout them out. Shout them out. Any white rituals you know of? No. Pyretic Ritual, right? That's a good one. That's a good one. Desperate Ritual. Jessica's Whill. A really good one. But it's not like we're going to get that. It's not going to be Rogrek good, you know? Unless we have Rogrek down, but it needs to be a commander. Yeah, it's never going to be as good. Jessica's Will. What else are we missing? Seething Song. And yes, we're playing Ranger Captain. Yeah, plan B would be concede. If you fail at this flawless strategy, concede. I'm sure your player base will love you. I think that's all the rituals? No. Infernal Plunge. Come on, guys. An Infernal Plunge is badass because we can kill the thing and put it back in our hand. You see? You see? How good is that? Okay, so Infernal Plunge, and I can't think of any other red rituals that we can manipulate. Hit me up if you can think of one. I think that's it, though. So we've got that. Let's get some fast mana down. So I already know. I want a Mana Crypt. I want a Mana Crypt. I want a Soul Ring. I want a Mana Vault. I want a Grim Monolith. I do. I want a Grim Monolith because we have Fork, we have Reverberate, we have Dual Caster Mage, which will likely add, and we have Deflecting Swat and Ricochet Trap, and a couple of redirects. So Ad Nauseam and Peer into the Abyss are rampant in my meta. So I'm accustomed to seeing them, and I'm accustomed to stealing them or playing them by copying them. So we're going to set this up to play with Ad Nauseam, to play alongside Peer into the Abyss, because we're going to get our opponents, right? So I do want Grim Monolith because that's a great rock. That's going to help us power out our Felwar Stone. That's going to help us power out the Arcane Signet. And I didn't hit all of the lesser mana positive rocks, right? So Chrome Mox, Mox Diamond, Mox Opal, Mox Amber, right? We're going to go for all of them. So Mox Diamond, Mox Opal, Mox Amber. In case you're just jumping in, we're building Koll, the Forgemaster. So I've made Magda from the set. I've made a Birgi. I don't know how you pronounce her name. I'll link that later too if you guys want to try that out. And I've been successful at winning on turn 1 with her. The front end, right? The creature end. It's good. It's not consistent enough. But it's good. It feels better than Magda, I have to say. If you follow it along for the Magda cold brew. Surprisingly better than Magda. Okay, I'm sidetracked. So Mana Crypt, Soul Ring, Mana Vault, Grim Monolith. Did we get all of them? Lotus Petal. And we don't need Jeweled Lotus in this list. That's a first. And that's it. That's it. Springleaf Drum we can use. No cost reducers that help our opponents. So no Helm of Awakening. Priest of Urabrask is fine. We don't really need it, right? Priest of Urabrask, for those of you that don't know, it's like Priest of Gix, right? So it enters the battlefield, it gains mana. If you have a cost reducer, then this functionally works to net you mana, provided you have like one of your free equipped cards or a way to make the equipment free. Koll, a way to kill it. You make infinite mana. Again, we're not really looking for infinite mana with this list. We're looking for infinite death on our opponents. So Urabrask is just okay. I don't really care for the body. I mean, we have Infernal Plunge. I'm trying to think of like, it's not like we need it for our Diabolic Intent, or there's really no great sacrifice creature spells that would utilize Priest of Urabrask. Does that make sense? Yes, I can drop Priest of Urabrask and kill it to my Phyrexian Altar, but what? I've netted 1 mana? That's not good enough. It's a waste of a play. So we're not going to do that. Let's try to add now, not interaction. So I want to get all of our fast mana down. Why don't we just take a look at what's here to see where we're at? And of course, I want to take a look at equipment with you all. Sacrifice on the equipment, see what we can find. I really think that it's just going to be like our Mortar Pod and or the Immolation Mask, Mask of Immolation. It's one or the other. Excuse me, guys. But it's probably going to be one of those two as another potential outlet. I'm also thinking about adding the eggs to this deck. So like Chromatic Sphere, Chromatic Star. Just simple draws, as well as all of our wheels. Maybe not Reforge the Soul. We'll probably go for a Wheel of Misfortune and a Wheel of Fortune. By the way, best art from the set. Does it not look like a movie poster? Is it not the sickest thing you've seen? Actually, there's really good art in the set in totality. But this alone is making me want to build this in paper just to drop that. Because that just looks badass. If I win with that, I'd feel pretty badass. Moving on. So we've got a lot of artifacts. I think we'll hit... Oh, damn. Just like... What was it? No, Belby they said was competitive. Tapped out. Your meter. We are missing some cards, though, so I don't blame them. Not sure we're going to keep Nahiri, by the way. But she's there for now. Maybe that's what's dragging us down. Maybe that's what's hurting our score. So there are other combos we can add, which we can get to. Let's just take a look at our equipment that allows you to sacrifice, right? And we'll just start with this, see what we come up with. Beyond the two I've mentioned, like those are excellent outlets provided you have infinite mana and or the ability to just reduce the cost of it to 0. Oh my god. By power. By power is what I wanted, sure. Equip cost 2, equip cost 2. Now, why do I like these? So, Mask of Immolation. For 1 generic, 1 red. When Mask of Immolation enters the battlefield, create a 1/1 red elemental creature token, then attach Mask of Immolation to it. So you have a body that you can Infernal Plunge, whatever, and or a body that you can sacrifice and just zap a thing. Dark Confident. 2/1, right? Gone. Doesn't matter. Notion Thief. Are you still running that? Gone. Or you can sacrifice it to your Infernal Plunge, right? That's the only thing I can think of that is really great on the spot. Obviously, we have sack altars, but beyond that, it's a sacrifice creature and deal 1 damage to any target. This is an outlet. We can add these two for now, and this is the same thing. It's a living weapon, so it means it enters with a germ. Germs are 0/0 black tokens, and essentially they're dead if they're not equipped. So this enters with that attached to it, and then it does the same thing. However, this gives it +1 defense, so there is that benefit, if you could call it that. Your shield sphere is that much bigger. But we'll add those two for now. I'm not certain we need the outlets, but again, if we have our Pure Steel Paladin out, all is 0, my friends. Mask of Immolation. Lord. I keep forgetting that Mask of Immolation. Add these for now. Mortar Pod. We also want to make sure that we have space for interaction, right? So we'll try to make sure we include those as well. So those are decent. Grafted War Gear, yes, it's this doesn't work like you'd want it to, folks. Right? You can't unattach this and have it bounce to your hand because it'll trigger once it's moved. So that doesn't work the way you think it does, but it's still 0 to equip, right? Piston Sledge is tech in our... Right, and this is where your Impact Tremors comes in. So we've got Memnite, we've got Ornithopter, we've got Sphere of Resistance, and that might be it for 0 CMC artifacts. No, Phyrexian Marauder. Phyrexian Marauder. Piston Sledge, we can equip the creature this is already attached to by sacrificing it. Right? Now, the only issue with this is that if you were to sacrifice that creature to equip it, it goes back to your hand because of Koll. You put this down. This isn't an auto-equip on ETB for the creature. It's an auto-equip on ETB for the spell itself. So we do need to sacrifice another artifact to put this on this guy. It's not going to go infinite, so we don't want that. Equip creature attacks and you sacrifice. No. None of these are good. Sadly, it's just these two. Wow. All right, so if there are any... Yes, we want Stoneforge Mystic. And we can just do search library cards really quick. See if we hit everything in Boros. Obviously, we want Gamble. We want Stoneforge Mystic. Give me 1 second. So we want Stoneforge. Yeah. Definitely want those two. I always just do this ritual. I remember the cards I want, but I just go through this ritual every single time to make sure I'm not missing anything. Do I recommend it? Maybe not. You don't necessarily need to do this. But sometimes you'll be surprised at the synergies you might find. Like when I was doing my Birgi deck, I use Flamekin Harbinger in Neheb, and I use it there because it finds Grinning Ignis. And Grinning Ignis is infinite Storm and infinite ETB, right? So Flamekin Harbinger for 1 red finds me that. And I probably would have forgot about that unless I was doing this little ritual. Whenever you cast a creature spell, you may put a quest counter on Quest for the Holy Relic. Remove 5 counters. Is this good for the list? The answer is yes. Right? It depends. Quest for the Holy Relic is decent as an outlet, right? Because we're not going to be casting that many creatures to get this to pop off early. But if we're going infinite, like post-infinite creature storm casting, we can fill this up and then get a valuable a piece of equipment, right? Like our outlets with Mask of Immolation and the Mortar Pod, right? So there's hope for it yet. I'll add it. I think it's likely to be removed, but we'll see. Phyrexian Walker, that's right. Embercleave, no. Yes, it does. I do like Mortar Pod here. Enduring Renewal. We can look at that. It's a cute enchantment. I think it's a little too cute, but we can look at that. Tithe. Okay, so Tithe. 1 for our Mox Diamond. 2, if you're not on the play. This is just very great at getting your planes, so it can be your dual lands. Tithe is good. It helps to thin the list. It's just a good action on the off chance you don't need your land for anything else, right? I don't think we want Weathered Wayfarer. It's a little too slow. We have Steel Shaper's Gift if you were just looking at it and wondering why I skipped it. We don't have Goblin Engineer. Well, our combo cards are 3 CMC and under, so why not? It's interesting setup. Obviously, Goblin Engineer is better when there are Lightning Greaves on the field, right? But we can't always hope for that situation to occur. However, it is going to broadcast to everyone that we're setting up for a combo, but whether or not they can deal with it is a different story. And we should hopefully be prepared with enough draw on our side of the board. And we don't have that much in Boros, so we'll try to figure that out. This is a new one. It's nice. It looks really nice. I think people were thinking that this would be better than it actually was, but you do need to keep in mind that it needs to share a creature type with the creature you just sacrificed. So it's likely not good. And we can look at our creature types after this, like the subtypes. Humans, do we have enough goblins for this to work? Likely not, right? But we'll look at it later. Relic Seeker, when he becomes renowned. This is just too slow for me. This is just too slow. I'd rather do this. Well, we'll do Stoneforge Mystic for sure, but we'll skip on the Relic Seeker for now. Do I want any stacks pieces? I don't think so. I know that's what white's known for. We're going to be ignoring most of white for this deck. Sorry. Trying to go a lot quicker. If the list is inherently slow, however, of course we'll consider adding certain stacks utilities. You know, obviously something like Aven Mind Center is still fantastic. It's just more of a mid-range combo list than what we're trying to accomplish here. Okay. I'm hoping that we can win on or before turn 3, right? Really show them that this is the turn 3 format. Do I want Idyllic Tutor? No. No, I don't. Do I want to find a dragon? No. We added these. God, this is what white gets? Oh, come on. Search for glory. There's no glory here, folks. Sunforger. Sunforger is committing to a slower game. That's a lot of setup, right? That is a lot of setup. We might put it in. Again, depending on how slow the deck actually operates, we might put it in. But here, at the corner of Academy Rector and Wildfield Scarecrow Lane, we're going to stop looking at tutors because anything beyond 4 and above is just not worth our time because we're trying to go fast. Okay, so forging the Tyrite sword. Did I miss this? Oh, is this a new one? Just this is a fun white card you're suggesting, or are you just suggesting it's a fun card? Create a okay. For 3 CMC, I get 2 of that back. Hopefully there isn't a Null Rod or a Collector Oof. That would really screw up our plan. And mind you, we're going to need to pack as much interaction for those 2 cards. Skyclave Apparition. I'm really feeling it. Search your library for a card named Halvar, God of Battle, or an equipment card. Reveal it and put it into your hand. How do you all feel about this? I am iffy. Daily MTG. Story Spotlight. Okay, no. I'm going to say no to this for now. It is a tutor. It is a 3 CMC tutor, and it does kind of pay for itself. Not feeling it. Still not feeling it. It is just a little slow. It's not a bad card. It's just a little slow. It's still... I would put that in before I put in Sunforger. No offense to Sunforger fans. That might not be true. They're about 50-50 on my scale right now. Let's just add some interaction. Red Elemental Blast. Never heard of it, right? Brand new to you? Definitely check it out. It's worth it. Same with Pyroblast. Got a pesky blue mage at the table? Blast him. Those 2. So we've got... I was just talking about interaction for Null Rod. And I was just talking about interaction for Collector Oof. A Braid. We want a Braid. We want Deflecting Swat. Right? Pretty sure. We want Fork and Reverberate. I prioritize the hell out of these 2 cards. I don't know if you've ever watched Brew Wars, but I've used them to much success, I feel, on the channel. And I use them to much success outside of the channel. They're some of my favorite cards. Again, copy effects. Don't neglect them. Because to be able to cast your own Peer into the Abyss for 2 red is pretty good. Particularly when you see the other one getting countered. Feels really good. But also remember, Deflecting Swat works on that same thing. There is Wear and Tear. Is that the one that hits artifact or enchantment? We'll put it in. That's Boros. Empress Shieldbreaker. So, Empress Shieldbreaker, if you don't remember, is a card that came out in Embereth. And what was it called? Same set with Oko, right? Well, why can't I? Throne of Eldraine. So this is like repeatable artifact removal. Because you can cast this from its adventure, have the body, return it to your hand, do it again, right, with Koll. It's not bad. It dies to Skull Clamp, right? Dies to Skull Clamp. So you put it down, you equip it, you get it back. Draw 2 cards. 2 mana, draw 2. There's some really awesome art for this card too. So you know what, we're gonna add Embereth, Embereth Shieldbreaker. But we gotta get the right art. Gotta get the right art. We'll see how long this stays in the list. If I am able to manipulate it in the way I just illustrated, then it stays. It's a staple. But if it just destroys one thing, And again, because the combo itself, the nature of the combo is very low CMC, once you have the setup, the initial setup, it's okay to do 1 red at sorcery speed to kill a thing. Or destroy a thing, rather. Generous Gift and Silence. Yeah, we do need silence. I mean, 1 second game. We're looking through all of these. Let's add silence. This is not a list for Grand Abolisher. I don't like Grand Abolisher. We're not going to use it here. Not sure if it's already in, but this is the guy that equips things to himself. Savine's Reclamation. We can. This isn't really good for us. Again, it's 3 CMC. It's not very good for us, what we're trying to do. Well, we can add Savines. Give me 1 second to think on this. So we have access to a card called Underworld Breach, and I want to take a look at some lines of play with Underworld Breach, right? And along with that is another card called Grinding Station. Very good, coupled with Underworld Breach. With all of our 0 CMC artifacts, we can mill ourselves indefinitely, find a solution. You can use Savine's Reclamation to recur Underworld Breach, provided you lose it, but also any combo permanent that has been destroyed prior, right? So Savine's is good. Giver or Mother of Ruins. What for? I guess we would use them to protect Koll, right? Let's do Mother. Let's do Mother of Ruins for now, and we'll stop there. If we find we need another Mother, then we can have 2 moms, right? With Giver. But we'll stop at 1 Mother for now. I think we can add Ricochet Trap. Me personally, I go against a lot of players that play blue. It's always been useful. And I don't really care that it's 4 CMC because, unless I'm forking it ad nauseum, I'm not really too concerned about the life loss. Now, there are cards like Wheel of Fortune we've mentioned. We need that. Wheel of Fortune. Because our hand is definitely going to be deficient. We don't need Wheel of Misfortune, but we'll use it. I've actually had Wheel of Misfortune bite me in the ass a couple of times. It was not good. I talked about Reforge the Soul. We can add that. We can also add Sensei's Dividing Top for card quality, right? A little sluggish, but still good. Now, someone mentioned Springleaf Drum. Now, I really like this card. I really like this card in tandem with Rograk, right? Because you automatically have that set up for yourself. That's a good way to utilize that body. And in a similar fashion, we have a lot of just pretty useless creatures just sitting on our board. So Springleaf Drum gives us ramp. It's not bad. Also, it helps us with our, which I want to look up now, Metalcraft. Is that one word? Let's find out. So how's everyone enjoying Call Time, by the way? Has this set been good for you? Are there any legendaries that you're interested in building? That blue one that just copies things. How about that one? Do you like that? I quite like it. Wear and Tear is in the list. Let's see here. Metalcraft. Target that player sacrifices 2. No, not useful to us. Exile a thing. Probably just go with Path, which we haven't put in. Right? Swords to Plowshare. We'll add just the 1 for now. Pure Steel Paladin is in. I don't know about Path at the moment. Let me see here. No, nothing really here. And the other thing we can look at. Okay, so if we're going to utilize Underworld Breach, I know you're thinking to yourself, do you also utilize Lion's Eye Diamonds? Now, I think most people, when they think of red and they think of Underworld Breach, they're likely thinking of that just okay line of play with Wheel of Fortune and Lion's Eye Diamond. Unless you've got a silence to go off first, it's not a good idea to be wheeling your opponents and fueling your grave that way. Instead, you should just hit a threshold of cards in your graveyard to know how many casts you need after the fact. Plus, Grinding Station with any 0 CMC artifact is going to allow you to go net neutral on your graveyard. And maybe we can illustrate this later. However, we're probably going to want to manipulate Underworld Breach for a win with our creature-based combo with Koll. And if we win for Underworld Breach, we would probably just try to find the utilities we need to pop off with that, and or just go for Aetherflux Reservoir. I mean, at that point, it's a very simple win, but I'd rather not add it yet. I think we can probably do more for this list before we add Aetherflux. Let me just go ahead and check how many cards we need to fill up slots with and see if we're missing. Oh, none. We need to fill no slots. Yeah. Okay, let's remove some cards. Why don't we? Is a prototype is private? No. And again, like I said at the beginning of this video, I'll be sure to share this link with you so that we can test hands together. Of course, I'll be testing these on camera, talking through actions, but if you want to test the list we're building, I encourage you to do so. So we need to remove some cards. I'm not really interested in any cost reducers. Not interested in any cost reducers. The nature of this combo is very, very low CMC. The only thing that would have been better for Koll is if he was Rakdos, because then we would have access to black rituals and tutors, which are arguably more arguably better than the tutors we're getting from white. But it's okay. We're Boros. We're going to stick with Boros. We have to stick with Boros. Sabine's Reclamation. Okay, so we need to cut 6 cards. I like to start from the sorcery end and work back. And we can look over any planeswalkers outside of Nahiri that we think might be useful. Again, as long as creatures, blah, 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 they get first strike, and equip abilities you activate cost 1 less to activate. So that's actually quite good with our Skull Clamp. And we can look over the other, equipment pieces we have to see if we want to cut any redundancies. As a matter of fact, we might do that first. Like this Ronin War Club is nice, too expensive. Umbral Mantle, nice, too expensive. And I like Ronin War Club more than Umbral Mantle here. Grafted War Gear, also too expensive. And if you don't know what this does, it's like +3/+2 when you unattach. Yeah, there you go. Equip 0. I honestly would like Ronin War Club over both of these. Just by the nature of the card makes it so much easier to pop off. And at instant speed, right? We're going to remove the 3 CMC. We're going to remove the 3 CMC combo cards for now because they're just a little too costly. I'll keep the Storm Rider Rig. So right now the combo cards we're looking at and we'll be looking for are Sai of the Shinobi, Shuko, Storm Rider Rig, Lightning Greaves, and that's it. Is that enough? With 2 tutors, that's 6 cards, 99 card singleton. I think that's enough. Skull Clamp technically counts towards this combo list, provided we have a cost reducer, right? Zerda is not in because we're not trying to make the cost of the equip less unless it's the Skull Clamp. Obviously, that's the only thing we really need to reduce. Every other piece of equipment in this list has an equip cost of 0 and or automatically equips when the creature enters the battlefield, right? So we can just skirt past any sort of need to pay attach cost, equip cost. But we'll leave the equipment at that for now, and let's remove some other cards that we don't need. Treasonous Ogre is great here. Treasonous Ogre is really great here because all our wheels are red. So provided we drop Treasonous Ogre, we can very easily work through our draws and we don't have any rummage effects in the list, and we might want to add some, but we can work through them very quickly with Treasonous Ogre. Empress Shieldbreaker still feels just a little cute, but I like that art. So we're going to keep it for now. Really want to use that art. This might be too many 0 CMC creatures, but the hope would be to have a hand that has a Shuko and a sack outlet and one of these creatures, correct? So that we can just pop off on turn 1, and we'll see if we can do that. But that's the hope. Quest for the Holy Relic. Nope. Not trying to wait for that. Because here's the thing. If I've used Recruiter of the Guard or Range... Okay, so if I've used Recruiter of the Guard or Imperial Recruiter as part of this combo line, right, to get to my 0 CMC creature, we can use the same recruiters to find Stoneforge Mystic and then find the equipment like the Mortar Pod or the whatever as an outlet. So we don't necessarily need something like Quest for the Holy Relic to get us there. Goblin Bombardment is obviously an outlet for us. Underworld Breach is part of a combo line. And with these 2, because we're only on 2 of them, we can actually utilize Reality Scramble in this list, right? So provided we don't have the combo line set up on the field, or provided one of our combo pieces was removed from the field, we can use Reality Scramble, a little too close to the monkey, to put target permanent you on the bottom of your library. So if we have Goblin Bombardment on the field, but nothing to do with it, we can put that at the bottom of our library and then get Underworld Breach to recur all the things we need back from our grave, right? And this could be our Lotus Petal. This can be our fast mana ritual. And then we can cast Reality Scramble from our grave once again to get the Goblin Bombardment. It's really good. It's excellent when you have, well, you need a certain amount of cards to exile, unfortunately, for Underworld Breach. And of course, you obviously need a certain amount of rituals to get the ball rolling mana-wise. That's where something like Lion's Eye Diamond might be useful and why we might incorporate it. However, Reality Scramble is really good. And when I see this, it makes me want to put it in the list. So bear that in mind. Damn. Okay. Let me see here. We do need the Wear and Tear. It's decent. Ricochet Trap is decent. Seething Song, Deflecting Swat, sure. Abrade, Desperate Ritual, Fork, Reverberate, Pyretic Ritual. I traded my Reality Scramble for a Hollowed Fountain. Well, you're going to need to trade back. Well, it's not in the list yet. I guess we can hold off until it's in the list. How does Skullclamp kill kobolds when the commander anthems? Well, if you read Koll, creature tokens you control that are enchanted or equipped get +1/+1. Kobolds happen to be creatures, non-token. These aren't tokens, so they die. We don't have any token generators here, and we're not using Care Keep, which is the land that generates kobold tokens, if that's what you were thinking. But I'm not going to make excuses for you. These are creatures. That's why they're in the list. I need another sack outlet to make it work. Yeah, you will. In most instances, you will. Are you running Sigarda's Aid? No. No, not yet. No, because it throwing the thing down at instant speed doesn't seem that important to me. It's really not. Yes, we're on Jessica's will. I think we still need to remove two cards. Okay, so we want all of these. You know, so far as I'm concerned, these are all very useful. I think we can cut Nahiri. She's just a little too costly. And obviously, we have the Pure Steel Paladin and the Auriok Steel Shaper to do the thing we want. However, Skullclamp, in my mind, is just a utility to draw and then go to one of our other combo cards. I'm not necessarily looking at it as an outlet unless I'm utilizing Ashnod's Altar, which, to be honest, we may not keep. We'll see. We'll see. Because obviously, if you have Lightning Greaves and Ashnod's Altar and a 0 CMC creature, you can utilize that for generic mana to do what you need to do. So it's still very good, provided you have the cards in hand to manipulate the generic mana. But we're at 100 cards now. Why don't we try this out and see where we're at? Tithe, ? Yes. Period. Does he anthem? Yeah, he does. For nothing we're going to have, unless our opponents are giving us spirit tokens, then nothing will get +1/+1. All right. We're at 100 cards. 93% casual. Let's go. Turn 1. I don't know the number of 0-drop creatures we're using, but we can figure that out as we go along. How about that? Let's go ahead and drop this. Get our Taiga. Taiga? No. Damn it. Plateau. I'm a Gruul boy, okay? Mox Diamond. Chrome Mox. Let's see how far we can go. I mean, are we all looking at what I'm looking at? So what I want to do, this is a very good starting hand. I normally start by talking about the starting hands, but I'm a little excited about playing this deck. So this is a good starting hand because it has a wheel and a lot of fast mana. As a matter of fact, more than one way to cast said wheel. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and power through this as if we're gods. Which Koll isn't. Maybe in the next Koll time set he will be. Who knows? Beast Within tokens, sure. Because I'm going to Oko elk tokens. He turns them into elks. He doesn't give you tokens, right? That bastard. How many 0-drop creatures do you have? I don't know yet. We'll find that out, though. Sorry. I think I said that. I think we're going to use Chrome Mox to get rid of the Desperate Ritual. It's better as the Mox. And obviously, we need the red anyways. We'll go ahead and go for the Grim Monolith. 1, 2. I mean, yeah, we want the Grim Monolith. We'll tap the Grim Monolith. We're going to do generic mana over here. We'll cast this for 1 red. Wheel of Fortune. Now, let's just assume that on turn 1, no one has anything for a Wheel of Fortune, right? And in certain circumstances, like, it really depends on your pod. If it's a bunch of proactive list, if you force of will the wheel and like I'm on the play it and this is my turn 1 is doing this shit, then yeah, you're hurting me, but you're also hurting yourself. Like if you're removing your force of will to stop this, and this guy is primed with a turn 1 ad nauseum, like he just mulled down to 5, he's looking really giddy, then you're really screwing up everyone's game. So I don't usually see turn 1 wheels countered, even if it messes up your mulled hand, right? So we're going to pretend it goes off when we have 1 generic floating, excuse me. And look at that, we're fueling our breach. This is okay. We'll cast a Mox Amber and we'll cast a Shield Sphere. Now, unfortunately, you might have noticed, we still don't have a sack outlet. So, let's move on from here. Which might mean we need to find other forms of sacrifice, right? So, we'll move on from here and see what we got. Well, we've got plenty of ways to find the creatures we need. We already have 1 creature. We need a sack outlet, though. And I've put every single sack outlet I could think of artifact-wise in here. But we do have a Goblin Engineer, and the Goblin Engineer can help us get there. It's going to be slow. And again, we're broadcasting, which I hate doing. This is taps. So we have a red and whatever we want from that Mox Diamond, and we obviously have this Plains. We're very close to popping off here. Now, I think what we'll do, although it's risky, I don't like putting all my rocks down just to get blasted, but we'll just do this for Koll. Oh, yes, that felt good. Our Mox Amber's online. And I think here we'll just go... I hate doing it. So look, Recruiter of the Guard can get the Stoneforge Mystic, right? I think that's the better move than going for Goblin Engineer personally. I would really like to be able to play out our Ranger Captain of Eos as well. So this is looking like a turn 3 win, which is what we want to do. Okay, so we're going to do this. 1, 2, 3, Recruiter of the Guard. Does it resolve? You say yes? Okay. Thank you. 2 CMC creature, Stoneforge. Isn't it great to have a creature that tutors a relevant thing? Thank you, White. Thank you. Let's go on. Turn 3. Infernal Plunge. Okay. So, this is useful. It sucks that Ranger Captain is double white. This is still tapped. So we're going to start with the Stoneforge Mystic here. Now we do need a way to draw. So despite the fact that we have Stoneforge Mystic out, our equipment, as we know, doesn't allow us to sacrifice the permanent, right? Outside of Mortar Pod, Immolation Mask. And we've just discarded Immolation Mask, but it still cost 1 to do that. So at this very moment, it seems odd, but I think Skull Clamp is our best bet. We kind of want to go through our list and find the solution. So what's nice is we have the Infernal Plunge. So what I'm going to do is this. we're gonna, oh, not that yet. We're gonna go ahead and drop our skull clamp. We'll use the chrome mox here because it's limited in its scope. And then we'll use the planes to attach the skull clamp to the recruiter of the guard. Remember that play line we were just talking about? Well, she dies. She dies. And we'll draw 2 cards. She dies and comes to my hand. Lightning Greaves could haste the goblin, yes. So, we hasten the goblin. If we went Stoneforge for Lightning Greaves, I just like the card quality. You do have a point there, though. We could go Storm. We could have gone Stoneforge for Lightning Greaves, drop the Greaves, and manipulate that with our Goblin Engineer. So on this turn, it would have been 3 total to... We would probably remove the Grim Monolith for our sack outlet, and that sack outlet would be an Ashnod's Altar. So that's alternatively a win, right? So instead, we're going to do this. We're going to equip the Skull Clamp to the Stoneforge Mystic. We'll tap here to cast Infernal Plunge to sacrifice the Stoneforge Mystic. Oh, returning it to my hand. And now I've we'll use energy to represent 3 red here. Okay? So now we'll grab, after drawing 2, now we'll grab our goblin. We have the Goblin Engineer. Like you were saying, we want our Lightning Greaves. I'm just setting them off to the side because we're going to try to go for this now. I think that was arguably the better play. I forgot about our Lightning Greaves. My throat's getting really dry. We're about to win on turn 3, though, I think. So give me 1 second. Do we need planes anymore? Now, in an ideal world, I think that going for the Ranger Captain would be really great for the silence, but we just don't have that kind of mana available. Infernal Plunge should be in the graveyard, by the way. I'm trying to think if we need the white from the Marsh Flats to grab a plains, or I can just go for the Great Furnace. It's really unimportant. We've got the Lotus Petal, so we can use the Lotus Petal for our Stoneforge Mystic. And let's just say that we can go about doing this untouched, right? So we'll go ahead and use one of our red from Infernal Plunge to drop Stoneforge Mystic, and we'll bring in the Greaves, or rather we'll grab our Greaves. Now we can go ahead and put down this. It really doesn't matter at this point. Do we have enough mana to do this? I don't think so. No, we don't. Yeah, right? Because if we go ahead and do this... Wow, man, do we... Yeah, we would have been able to do it on turn 3 if we went for Greaves. Because I think we would have the requisite mana. Well, let me see here. What can we do? Trying to see if I can still play this out regardless. We'll get plains. And we want to drop the... Actually, would we had enough mana? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Exactly enough. I think we would have... Ooh, that's rough. It would have had to have gone for Ashnod's Altar. It would have had to have gone for Ashnod's Altar. And then we would infinite generic and then infinite draw. We would exactly enough to do Stoneforge, Goblin Engineer, and the Stoneforge Mystic. So good catch there. It would, I mean, at this point, we would really just need to hope on our Skull Clamp getting us what we needed, and we don't have another way to self-sacrifice a thing. So outside of Ranger Captain of Eos, we can go ahead and test another game. 7 total. I can't believe we had 7 mana on turn 3 to do that. That's actually really good. Again, that was with the, or with or without the Infernal Plunge. Oh, you know, we still have mana from our Infernal Plunge. What am I talking about? What am I talking about? I don't think it's enough, though. All right, because we did the Lightning Greaves and we don't have enough. Yeah. All right, try another game. And we can modify this as we go along. But, however, as promised... Oh, it's another good hand. It's just ramp, no wheel, right? But still decent. I'll leave this in the comments for you all. We can count that turn 3. It would have been exactly enough. But it's good to know that it functionally does the thing, right? Despite the fact that Tapped Out thinks it's 93% casual. I don't recall many casual lists doing that. But I've left a link to the playtester here if you want to try your own hands. Obviously, go ahead and go for it. So, oh, legendary creature, Planeswalker. Oh, this feels so good. Mox Amber, Sacred Foundry, Koll. Now, I did Sacred Foundry here, lost 2 life, because this only gives me mana in the color of the legendary. So Rockrak is red, so I'm going to use this for the red, and I'll use that for the white. I can use Ancient Den, but I'd rather have the red available. Arguably, putting down Koll isn't the best move here. I think it would probably be better to just have the setup, right? I'll leave Koll off to the side, and then we'll go ahead and add this. I kind of want to keep all this other stuff up for now, sadly. This looks like a very slow hand, despite the ramp. Yeah, this isn't great. So, like, we would put down Koll now. But really, what this hand lacks is a decent tutor, right? We would want a tutor for one of our pieces of equipment at this point. But we can restart. I think that this hand is going to be a little too slow for us, especially if we're just peeling into lands. Let's go for it again. This is where Rummage Effects would come in handy. And I would genuinely think that Rummage Effects would be good for this list. So there might be too much of a redundancy of these guys. We'll see. Can't make that decision quite yet, but I think there might be too much of a redundancy of the 0 CMC creatures. Put this down. Yes, we can Infernal Plunge into nothing, but we've got that. Now, I'm not necessarily keeping hands that I would recommend, but we're going. We're trying. Koll down. Might as well. Next turn. A Braid. Okay. Let's look for a supremely keepable hand. So, preferably a sack outlet or a tutor. Preferably fast mana. And that's about it. Right? So this is good. Again, not so bad. We just have the 1 land, unfortunately. But we have a tutor, 2 tutors rather, and we have a 0 CMC creature. So I think Savines can be cut from this list if I'm being honest. Grim Monolith, that's not great. We're going to go ahead and gamble now. And we'll gamble. When you look at this hand, what do you think you need? That's a serious question. I don't even know. Just built Koll. I don't know. Probably some form of free ramp, right? We want to get to this guy. Unfortunately, I mean, the thing I'm thinking of is we grab our Infernal Plunge and we cross our fingers. Gamble resolves. We have Infernal Plunge and the Phyrexian Walker. And then what we could do is Infernal, if we top deck a land, or even just Grim Monolith, I think we should have the mana. That's the best way to get Treasonous Ogre out, right? Yeah. So we're going to go roll an 8-sided dice, and then on an 8, we'll just reroll. 3. Biscuits. All right, so we have to get rid of the Phyrexian Walker. Gamble. That's gamble for you. We still have the 2 CMC creature, but now we need to get a land. Yes. Okay. Slowest Treasonous Ogre. Sorry. And you thought Embereth Shieldbreaker wouldn't be played as a 2/1. Unless we get a wheel off the top deck here, it's not good. Okay, well, this helps. We do need white mana, though. Treasonous Ogre, you let me down. Okay, so here's how it's going to go. We're going to do Infernal Plunge, the Embereth Shieldbreaker. We have 3 red floating. We're going to represent the red here. We're going to remove 2 red because we need the white from the command tower to play Grim Monolith. We'll tap the Grim Monolith and use the remaining red to play Treasonous Ogre. Does it resolve? Thank God. You're not worried about my Koll list. Now we're going to go ahead and pay 3 life, and the life seems negligible. I don't think we're going to lose enough for me to track, but we'll cast Stoneforge Mystic. Um, okay. I don't even know. I want to say the Phyrexian altar, but we're not. Oh, it needs to be equipment. What am I talking about? It needs to be my mind always goes to Skull Clamp, even when it should go to Lightning Greaves. So maybe, just maybe, I don't want to get a combo card right now. I get the Lightning Greaves just to keep him safe and then have a utility that is 0, right, to drop. Or to equip, rather. Obviously not a turn 3 win. This is all set up. And the Divining Top doesn't do too much because neither of these creatures dies to it. No, it's not working for me. We're gonna start up another game. Oh, I do have Kobold to Keep in here. I kept Kobold to Keep in here because I was thinking about adding a Cloudstone line. So what we're gonna do? Sidetrack. If you're following along and testing lists yourself, let me know what you think. There is a Mana Crypt. Like you're suggesting we got the Mana Crypt off the gamble. We could have, but that wouldn't have allowed us to cast Treasonous Ogre on turn 2, which is what I wanted. But the hand didn't really lend itself well to Treasonous Ogre anyways. We need more draw. Okay, so we need what? One more. We need more. One is what I'm trying to say. We need more draw. 2. Did I say plan B specifically? No, there is no plan B. But Cloudstone Curio is still grossly effective with the ETBers, right? And Cloudstone Curio with the Dockside, which we did not add, would be good, right? So how could y'all forget about Dockside Extortionist, huh? We talked about this. Cloudstone Curio. We're going to remove the Savine's Reclamation. I know it's great. I don't like it. All right, we'll look at this. We'll look at this after the fact, and then we'll remove cards. What else do we need? If you wouldn't Cloudstone Curio, you lied. No, it's setup. SRAM? SRAM, the guy who draws Aura equipment. So we have just equipment, and we have Pure Steel Paladin, which is better, right? Do we add a Mangara? Maybe. That's not the kind of draw I'm talking about, though. I'm thinking about Thrill of Possibility. I'm thinking about all these rummage effects. So let's go ahead and add. Let's go ahead and add some of these rummage effects. At least this one, and at least Faithless Looting. Again, decent for filling up our grave. And let's see where we're at. Remove some things. Try it again. Okay, so it does a thing. Effectively, no, it's kind of slow. Magmatic Insight's not bad. We're at 29 lands. Not to include Shatter Skull. You could potentially add it. It's a cheaper card too. I'm not high on Savine's because we need to get the cards first to want to retrieve them. I don't have enough faith that this list is going to go quick enough to be able to utilize Final Fortune to much effect. Right? Generally speaking, when you have a Final Fortune is good in the list that run Ad Naz and Peer into the Abyss because it's a get out of jail free card, right? You can essentially do your setup, and then once your opponents have tapped out, or once you've been given clearance, you can say, oh, you just activated your what? Your Thrasios, you're tapped out, I'll do Final Fortune. Does it resolve? And then you get your turn, you pop off with the Ad Nauseam, main phase, whatever. Then it's good. Final Fortune here, I get to draw one more card. It's Boros. It's Boros, damn it. Still just as inefficient as ever. So, we need to cut some cards. And we've cut Savines. I'm going to test this a few more times. And then as a little spoiler, we can play test the Birgi list I made as well. Because I think we've cut this down to about like 90% of the way there, so far as this combo is concerned. And there are other play lines baked into this list as well now. 0 CMC creatures with Dockside Extortionist and Cloudstorm Curio as infinite mana, as well as infinite mill with Grinding Station. Then we would need Savine's Reclamation. Might consider putting it back in. We'll take out Mask of Immolation. We don't need the redundancy. But at the end of this video, if you guys want to see Birgi, we can look at her. She plays very well, and she's very fun to watch, personally. So we can take a look at her. Again, I really do think that we have an excess of these creatures. So Shield Sphere, Phyrexian Walker, those can go. At least Memnite is a 1/1, right? And Ornithopter is a 0/2 flyer. I just not want to highlight it for you. What in the world? But you can take my word on it. There you go. 0/2, 1/1. So Skull Clamp that. This is at least a flyer, so it's a decent blocker. Mother of Ruins, honestly, don't care. Don't care. And we have spots now. Let's put Savine's back in, why don't we? Okay, so there's that. Yeah, that's about as good as... Ember's Shieldbreaker. Clutch. Coming in clutch. Thank you, Shieldbreaker. So let's go ahead and test this a handful more times, see where it lies, and then we can sort of make up our mind on this list. I think it's fine. It's not doing precisely what I would hoped it would do, but it's fine. This is a good hand, despite the lack of lands. Would you keep this, Pat? Yeah, I would. Yes. I mean, we need red. Let's just see how screwed we get because we did this. Sigh the Shinobi. Yeah, that's what we want. No one cares about this. And then it's a 1/2. Cool. It's gonna be bad. Yes, we could have put down Lightning Greaves instead of the Sigh of the Shinobi, but no. I want a 1/2. Red land. No, not a red land. But we did get a Mox Amber. I would never recommend keeping a no lander, but for the sake of the argument. Oh, that's 1/2 to the face. Okay, unless we draw a land, then this is just a no-go. Okay, definitely a no-go. Try to keep a hand with at least 2 lands. At least. Wow, the Mana Crypt and the Mana Vault really loving us today. 1 land. Let's just say that... I mean, we could be... With my luck, I'm always off the play, generally speaking. So we could just say that I'm off the play here. So pregame action, this one. I'm sorry, Ember's Shieldbreaker. I really liked you, but you have to go. Okay, this is good. So we have Mana Crypts, Mana Vaults, 1 generic floating, Mox Opal, Metalcraft. This is red, or any color. Again, you're starting to see the issue of not having drawn the command zone, right? It's starting to percolate to the top of this coffee pot. It's not, whenever you're brewing, you'll fall prey to one of 2 things. A lack of tutors, and cEDH in particular, a lack of tutors, relevant tutors, and or a lack of draw. And what I've found over years of playing, Commander in particular, draw is more valuable than tutoring in most instances, because you can find the additional mana, you can find the additional pieces of interaction. Having a full hand is everything. Draw and tutors like right there. It's right there next to it. However, we're going to keep rolling with this hand. Obviously still a good turn 1. It's just that we really, really want to have some sort of draw component going for us. So this is red, this is white, whatever. In the generic, we've spent the generic is where that came from. Koll, bam. Koll is a 3/3. Do we play the kobold? Yeah, we play the kobold. Why not? No, we don't play the kobold. We'll wait on the kobold. All right, well, we're getting lands. That's great. We'll just see what turn 3 looks like. We'll just see what this looks like. Because obviously, you know, I could swing with Koll. That's fun. I have a 3/3 on turn 2. Not that great. Oh, wow. Okay, another land. Land tax and rummage effects. I think land tax is arguably good here. I think we could definitely add land tax. I didn't want to, but we're getting there with our mana. Like, we're clearly making an excess of mana to do a thing. But Boros doesn't have Adnos. So, like I was saying, this list would only be improved if it was Rakdos. But it's not. So we need to work within the confines of what we have here. And honestly, more rummage, sadly, is sort of what we need. Reforge the Soul? Man, where's our Mana Crypt and our Mana Vault now? I ask you. Let's look at this hand. We're going to do a gamble here. And what are we going to gamble for? Comment in the comment section down below. What would you gamble for? What would you gamble for in this hand? Probably a Mana Crypt. Probably a red, probably a permanent source of mana. It's probably a Mana Crypt. Let's see here. Rummage turns land cards into spell. It turns them into draw. We can also add like tectonic reformation, stuff like that. If we want to cycle through our lands, we can add more cycle cards, right? If we just want to fix our hand as we go along, because like I'm saying, because of the nature of the spell, all these 0 CMC creatures, we don't need more than a handful of these, and it would be okay to discard them. It would be okay to add effects that let us draw more. So again, we're going to need to consider that. Again, rolling an 8-sided die. 2. Oh my god, City of Traders. Gamble screwed us twice. All right. Here, I'll play this now. Zap it if you must. We're not going to do anything else with this. That's not good. We can put down this though, right? I don't think you can flip it here. I don't think you can flip it here. Can you transform it and then it'll be the other side? Let's see. Yeah. Okay, cool. So this, 3 red, 3 red, 1 generic. We're going to do this. 5. Kobold. Deflecting Swat is offline. Reforge the Soul? Is that okay with everyone? Let's just say it was. For the sake of discussion. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Wow. All right. Well, we used all of our mana doing that, right? So 1 generic excess, 3 from the ritual, 1 from the Shatter Skull smashing. Or whatever it is, the pass, hammer pass. Okay. Next turn. Can we pop off and win a game here? We have nothing but red sources, except we have Arcane Signet now. I'm hopeful. Let's do... Before we play the land, because I see the Skull Clamp, right? We're going to go, when you have a fresh hand, or when you add Nas, or when you peer into the abyss, or whenever you just draw an excess of cards, the first thing I encourage you to look for, and this will really help you, and I'm going to do a primer on the list I'm featuring in the next Brew War soon, but it is a filthy, degenerate ad Nas Peto list. All it does is do that on turn 1 or turn 2. Consistently. So... when you have those big hands, the first thing you want to do is just put down all your mana first, right? And I don't mean rituals necessarily, but the rocks. Just go for your rocks and organize it as you go along. This is going to be 3. And anything that goes mana positive, right? So let's just keep going. We go down by 2, but we go up by 3. And we know we need this. Because we'll need the white eventually. But we'll go ahead and drop the Skull Clamp and sacrifice this. Draw 2. In an ideal world, we would have done this first, right? But just considering what's going on here. Okay, so we really needed a ritual or more ways to get mana here. However, if this was... Okay, we don't even have the mana for it. We do have the Enlightened Tutor. We only had the one white source, is why we couldn't do Enlightened Tutor for the thing we want to draw, right? So we're sort of prey to whatever the gods of MTG wanted us to have. This is not a turn 3, but it's certainly a good setup for turn 2. And to end this turn, honestly, I would just do this. We don't have... I'm not even going to feign like I have an REB or something important in my hand. I would rather just do this so that Koll can die if he dies and I draw cards. That's what I want. This is dead at this point, right? After this. Do this. Well, there's another white source. We're gonna go for the plateau. Oh, you know what? I never played a land on that previous turn. This one. And then, that's so funny. I was looking for a white source and we didn't have one turn up. I just didn't care. But what we would put down the Inventor's Fair is, if you don't know what this does, it's just a tutor on a land for an artifact at a certain threshold of, like, I think you believe you need three or more artifacts to be able to search. So we have that. We're not going to go for that, though, I don't think. Because, and again, man, okay, let's just do this right. What did I grab? I grabbed this? No. Okay, let's do this right. Let's do this right. So what you should do here is tap this for the Enlightened Tutor on your upkeep. Then we'll go for Ashnod's Altar. Ashnod's Altar. Ashnod's Altar. Okay. Put this on top. This is how you start your turn 4, right? There. And then you'd be able to win. Now that I'm paying attention to this board state. So we do have a win here with just the Kobold and the Skull Clamp. So we would go ahead and do the Ashnods. 1, 2. We've got one generic floating from this, which is going to provide us the ability to attach it to the Kobold. Right? Oh, no, we don't. Oh, damn. This isn't one of the fatter booties. What do we have? Wait. Did I take out all the big booties? I'm trying to think if Ranger Captain could find a big booty. He can't. Such a shame. Wow. I'm trying to think if there is another thing to go for there. If not the Ashnod's Altar for the mana positivity. Nothing. Draw? Let's just see what we get. Okay. So this is down. This. Jeez. Okay. So we still do win, but not in the way we wanted to. Drop that. Auto equips to the side of the Shinobi. Use the Inventor's Fair to get it. Of course, we can leave the Inventor's Fair up, provided we wanted an outlet. If Skull Clamp were to get removed, or we foresee that, then we could just tap one of these other lands to play for the side of the Shinobi. Maybe that's smarter, because we can use Ashnod's Altar to zap the Crimson Kobolds, yada, yada, yada. You get the point. Basically, we're going to kill Crimson Kobolds for infinite generic, use the Skull Clamp to draw through the deck, and then find the resources to play out the rest of our win. At this point, it could be something like the Mortar Pod, or it could be a Blasting Station, a variety of cards. And if we found because we have red mana sources and we haven't played a land, we could go ahead and drop we don't even need to. I was thinking of like a white win spell, but even Goblin Bombardment's fine at this point with this mountain here and the infinite generic. We could also just find our Phyrexian Altar. Turn 4 win. Turn 4 win. Is it going as quickly as I wanted it to? Not necessarily. Bazaars of Baghdad is great. You can add that if you have it. I wouldn't say it's necessary, but it's good, right? You draw 2, discard 3, something like that. That's it. This is the current list. Again, I've left it in the comment section here. But again, if you want to go ahead and follow it, I'll leave it again for you. And you can try it out for yourself. Now, like I was saying, we've got about 10 minutes left. Let's go ahead and look at this Birgi list I developed, because I'm not going to do a... I was too impatient to wait to do a cold brew with you all on this one because I thought it was extremely interesting when it came out. And one of our guys is going to be playing this on the next Brew Wars. So I was working on this individually to share some of my feedback and thoughts on how to operate Birgi with him, so that he can, use me as a soundboard to sort of direct his list. So very much his own list being featured on the channel, not mine, but I did give him some ideas for combos, particularly with Cloudstone. So if you're interested in seeing Birgi, stick around. We'll play some list with her. And of course, if you're following my tapped out account, you can just look at my lists that are public, but I'll go ahead and leave this as well in case you want to check this out. This is Birgi. It's very fun though. It's Storm. It's somehow more consistent than Koll. We can talk about Koll too while we close this video out. I'd love to hear your thoughts if you're sampling hands yourself. Obviously, take the list we structured today and do with it what you will. If you want to remove, the Underworld Breach, all the additional play line combo cards from the list, the grinding station, to just add rummage effects, I think that makes sense. I think that would be a good idea. It's fine. We won on turn 3, technically. And we also won on turn 4 just there. Out of sheer luck. That was the one instance where the Skull Clamp for a creature with a higher defense than 1 would have been useful. But Birgi is really interesting. I'm not going to say too much. I'm just going to play her and let you guys figure out how she operates. Do we want this hand? Maybe. Here. Yeah. I'm playing strictly for the top end of Birgi. I hate her name. Birgi? Birgi? Whatever. Okay, so the back end of this card, if you don't know, allows you to discard a card. It's 5 CMC for an artifact. Discard a card, exile the top 2 cards of your library. You can play them this turn. That's really cool. We're going to use the top end of Birgi for the most part. All right, that's it. That's all I want to do. Cool. Next turn. Okay. We don't have anything in this hand, but we have all the rummage effects in here to utilize. Nothing really great going on with this hand. Genuinely, Reality Scrambles for 1 effect, and we could talk about that later, but this isn't great. I'll show you what the Reality Scramble's for, and we can play another hand with her. So, obviously, Reality Scramble is for the Impact Tremor line. That is in here. We can use Grinning Ignis with Impact Tremors. We can also use Cloudstone Curio with any number of creatures in Dockside to do Impact Tremors. So if you have Underworld Breach or you have Impact Tremors, you can switch them out for each other. This is predominantly playing for Breach or Reiterate combos if you're looking at the list. And then you can also switch out Jaya Ballard for Chandra, Chandra for Jaya Ballard. Anything that allows you to cast things from your graveyard, anything that allows you to cast multiple spells, triggers Birgi, right? Let's try that again. 95% competitive. What's that about? Is this a good hand? Oh. Okay, for those of you that are still here with me, is this a good hand? Yes. Yes, this is a good hand. Before I do anything, Jeweled Lotus. I'm going to play Birgi. Let's just, even if I pretended that I was off turn, I don't have anything I would want to remove for this. So let's just say I'm player 2. We're going to go ahead and drop a snow-covered mountain. Maybe not. I think we go for the Inventor's Fair, honestly. So let's just do that. So we'll go ahead Inventor's Fair, Soul Ring. Soul Ring resolves, rather on the stack, we're going to make a red mana, right? Okay. Now we'll generate 2 generic. There's no great way to get the Arcane Signet out as well, because we'll do this and create 2 red, right? Or we can just go for our wheel right now. And personally speaking, I would rather disrupt the board. So we're going to go ahead and use the 1 red we generated from Soul Ring and the 2 generic to just wheel. Let's see what we get. And obviously you can take that a couple different ways. We make red for doing this, so I'm going to leave my energy count or my red count at 1. And everyone discards. We drop 7. Cool. We can keep doing things. I'm going to go ahead and cast a Mana Crypt. I make a red. I'm going to go ahead and cast Seething Song first. So we're going to lose a red, and we're going to go up 5 red. On the stack, we gain a red. Kind of see where this is going, right? You also notice we have Finale of Promise down here. We're going to hold off on doing that. Gut Shot, why would you run that, Pat? It's a thing that zaps someone and doesn't cantrip. It just adds mana. It's a ritual. It's a 0 CMC ritual. But also, it allows you off turn to get red mana like that for 2 life and then use your red Elemental Blast. There's decent utility there. You don't need to incorporate it if you're doing your own Birgi list. Of course, I'll go ahead and leave this in the comments section as well. But let's continue. We've got 6 red. We're going to go ahead and use Honor the God Pharaoh. I'll go down by 3, go up by 1. We're going to discard Carekeep. And now we draw 2 cards and mass 1. So we're going to make a zombie army. Draw 2. Okay, it's at that point where we might want a finale here. And this is where our token is going to be useful. So let's just go ahead, zap this person's dork or whatever they might have, and we'll use Gut Shot. Gut Shot adds 1 red. Now we'll use Finale of Promise. I'm going to use Finale of Promise and copy Seething Song and Wheel of Fortune. 1 sorcery and 1 instant. 3 CMC or under because X is 3. When I cast Finale of Promise for 5, I'll go down to 1 because of Birgi's trigger whenever you cast a spell. And because Finale of Promise allows you to cast the spell from your graveyard without paying its mana cost, if we were to read this, you may cast up to 1 target instant or sorcery spell from your graveyard. We're going to get 2 red once these spells resolve, and we'll do it in an order of our choosing. So I'll go ahead, just to pretend like we have interaction, they should have stopped this already. We're going to do Seething Song first, right? So Seething Song resolves. We're going to get 5 plus 1 mana. We have 6 on top of the 1 we've generated from Finale of Promise. Now we'll do Wheel of Fortune. Because we cast it, we get a trigger. We're going to go up by 1, discard our hand, draw 7 more. You can kind of see how important rummage effects are in red, right, to get the ball rolling, outside of the fact that Birgi is literally netting us mana for every single cast. It's pretty good, right? Draw 7 more. See what we can do. Wow. Okay. Yeah, this is Birgi. So if you're joining in late, I said I was going to, just with the last few minutes of this video, showcase a separate list I built. If you want, rewind. I'd been playtesting our Koll list from about 3:30 till now. I think we even started around 3:10. Koll is fine. I would argue that Birgi is better and Magda even more so, just consistency-wise. This is a turn 1 play. I have 8 mana remaining. You want to keep Wheel of Fortune or Wheel of Misfortune if you see them. And now we have, these spells are exiled, right? Where's the Seething Song? These spells are exiled because of the Finale of Promise. After this playtest, I'm going to close this out, but I want to see if we can get to a win with this, and then we can go back to discussing Koll. But again, I'm going to leave this in a pinned comment as well. If you wanted to build your own Birgi list, this is how I would approach it. I think that this is definitely meant to be a Storm list. I've seen people build for the opposite end. I do think that the front end of Birgi is better. Okay, so those are exiled because of Finale of Promise. If they would be put into your graveyard this turn, exile them instead. Okay, so we did not, unfortunately, get anything for the Mox Diamond, but again, it cantrips, or I keep saying cantrip. It's a ritual for 1, like that Gut Shot earlier. Wasn't that clutch? We can go ahead, because we still have our rummage effects in the graveyard. Let's just go ahead and use this. Rite of Flame with Birgi is a dark ritual in red. So we're going to go ahead, lose 1, but go up 3, right? So, boop, up to 10. And now we're going to go ahead and use... We don't have any snow permanents. We do have snow mountains in this list if you were looking earlier. That's where Arkham's Astrolabe comes in handy. It's not important. It's the only snow card in the list. However, we can go ahead and use Goblin Engineer. So we're going to go down 1. At this point, you understand that Birgi is netting us 1 red every time we cast a card. So it's essentially a cost reduction on the card. So Goblin Engineer... I only reduced my mana by 1, but he was 2. Goblin Engineer is going to put Grinding Station in our graveyard. I'm going to keep going. We've got it. We've got it at this point. This is a turn 1 win with Birgi. If you don't see how, here's how. I would recommend you play out the rest of your hand first. This is to incorporate playing Chandra, Acolyte of Flame into the rummage effect, right? I'll just do this proper. You want more, you personally want more ways to protect yourself. Generally speaking, people wait for the win until they stop you. We do have a deflecting SWAT, but we're storming really hard here, and if someone has a Flusterstorm, we could get screwed. So the more resources we have, the better. So Chandra, Acolyte of Flame, this is a card I use in Ward. We're using her here only for the -2. She's going to allow us to cast a card, instant or sorcery, from our graveyard. It can ruin a mana cost of 3 or less, right? And then you can, if it would be put into your graveyard, much like Finale of Promise, it goes away. So instead, we had 10 mana. Well, we still did the Goblin Engineer. But we're going to cast Chandra, Acolyte of Flame. We're going to go ahead and cast our... It costs 2. We're going to use our -2 to cast Honor the God Pharaoh. Again, just because we want to get the most of our resources. So we're casting this from our graveyard. We're going to discard the Arkham's Astrolabe. And we're going to go up 1, 2. Okay. Again, I would really recommend that you go through all the rummage you can, or go through all the draw you can, to get as many countermeasures as you can. The Force of Wills, the whatever they might have. Let's just pretend that deflecting SWAT was enough and go for a win now. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and do Underworld Breach. Underworld Breach is going to go ahead and let us cast, and we go down by 1. We're going to cast Grinding Station. Grinding Station resolves, and now we'll go ahead and sacrifice Mana Crypt. We're going to Mana Crypt, exiling the top 3 cards of our library, casting it from our graveyard, right? For Underworld Breach's additional cost for the escape. That brings Mana Crypt to the battlefield. We net 1 red mana doing so. It untaps Grinding Station. I get 2 generic. Let's just track it with this other life counter. We're going to keep doing this until we find our Aetherflux Reservoir, our Cloudstone Curio, a number of solutions to just bounce stuff. There's 2 wins here. This is fun. This is fun, just showing you a random game of Birgi and showcasing the fact that she wins very easily. But essentially, there are a couple of combo lines you can utilize here. Because we're doing this all on turn 1, we can use Seething Song or Jeska's Will. And this is all with Underworld Breach, right? So we just keep on netting mana with either Mox Amber because of Birgi, Mana Crypt for double generic. You can filter the generic into an Arcane Signet, into a Felwar Stone, make any colored mana you want. But when you have the excess mana enough to do this, you'll go ahead and do Jeska's Will, targeting the player with 7 cards in their hand, casting Reiterate with its buyback cost. So in total, you need, if you're doing the math, on the right off the bat, you need 3 generic for the Jeska's Will. And this is despite, this is with the gain, 2, I said 2 generic. You need 2 generic and 1 red, plus the 1 red you get. So it's 2 total. Then the Reiterate with buybacks is 6. So you need at least 8 mana to start this line of play. But Jeska's Will and Reiterate is going to allow you to make infinite red mana, exile your entire library with Jeska's Will because we have Birgi out, and then we'll go all the way down to Lightning Bolt. And we'll Reiterate Lightning Bolt. Just kill everyone. Okay. In case Birgi, though, this is the list I made. Again, I'll go ahead and leave a link to both Koll and Birgi at the end of this in the comment section, so you can check them out. I hope you stayed till the end to see Birgi. She's very good. She was literally spoiled yesterday, or the day before that. I was up that whole night anyways, and I wound up building this in about 30 minutes because it was so simple. You literally need, if you're going to build Birgi, now that we're done with Koll, all the rituals, all the fast mana, all the rummage, all the wheels, and then you bake in the Underworld Breach combo with Grinding Station to peel into solutions like Reiterate or to peel into Aetherflux Reservoir. Mid to late game, Dockside Extortion is Cloudstone Curio for the infinite cast, infinite mana. and then you can, that's Infinite Storm as well. Then you can use either Flux or Reservoir. And anyway, guys, that's it. So Chrome Mox can work too. And obviously, yes, there was 100 ways we can do this at this point. Because Birgi on the cast, like this makes red mana, we're making infinite of the color we needed anyways, right? Infinite. We're making enough to combo into this solution. You don't need Jessica's Will Reiterate necessarily, but I did want to do this just to get this in exile to get the ball rolling on the cast, right? Because this exiles our deck. You don't necessarily need that. Again, you can also use Seething Song for the infinite red if you just want to do it quickly. But essentially, yeah, this works. And we also have, did we not cast Lotus Petal this game? No, we didn't. No, we didn't. That's fine. You get the idea though. That's Birgi. Guys, what did you think? At the end of these videos, I like to thank my patrons, so I'll go ahead and do that now. Thank you guys so much for your support here on the channel. You make all of this possible. So you guys are best. And the thing is, with this end roll, I'm missing 2 of our newest Patreon members, so I do want to do a special shout out for them. Christopher Rue and Billy. You guys, thank you for joining. 1 on an annual pledge, 1 for a monthly pledge. You guys really help the show out a lot. You make it all possible. So thank you so much for your support over on the Patreon. And to everyone who tunes in for these cold brews, thank you for joining me and making these lists with me. I have a lot of fun doing this work, and it's very enjoyable to showcase the lists we make with you all and obviously share them on Brew Wars. But I do hope you take something from this, either you know, a new lens to look at this game with, and or a new deck to play. I again have done Magda, Koll, and Birgi, and I do have to say that although Birgi can be inconsistent, she is one of the better legendaries from this set. So enjoy her, enjoy Koll, and enjoy the rest of your week, guys. Again, my name is Patrick Marlette, and happy brewing, babies.